Wake up!
Oh, hello. How are you? Good morning, Deacon.
Where the hell are you?
I'm in my wife's computer. I am such a genius yesterday that I took my laptop with me and I was like, I'm gonna add these comics to this comic website database that I have that they don't have on their thing. And so I took those. I took my laptop and I was like, I might mess around and try to do some production stuff for the show, whatever, I don't know. And I took it with me. Took my whole computer up to my office. Spent the whole day. Honestly, let's be honest, not doing my job very good. But I mean, I animated a sticker. I made some promo videos for the show, just like, hey, watch our show, watch our show. And like, I was just like, I honestly, I was kind of like
we need
staring.
to talk about those promo videos too. We need to practice.
Oh,
Go
it's
ahead.
not good. That's
That's
okay. So I spent the day kind of thinking about my work problem that I can't seem to figure out what is wrong. And so instead of doing it, I was just sometimes I just kind of let my brain just like maybe I could figure this out. But otherwise I will literally spend the entire day trying this, didn't work, trying this, didn't work, trying this, didn't work, trying that, and I'll do it all day long. By the end of the day, I'll just be like so pissed off and like burned out. So yesterday I did a bunch of like creative stuff.
That's not a bad thing, JJ. Try something it don't work. 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 That's not a bad thing to have, because a lot of people will try something don't work. Try something don't work. Fuck this! I ain't doing it anymore. And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I hate using this guy as an example because I just hate using this guy as an example. I think we put him on a fucking pedestal and we shouldn't have. Schools put him on a pedestal for us, but Thomas Edison, I mean, he always said that famous quote was like, I didn't invent the light bulb. I invented 260 something ways to not invent the light bulb. So right. I always thought about that. And I've had conversation with my kids about that before, about how, oh, by the way, there is no spoon, about how you don't need to stop after, imagine Thomas Edison after number 158 going 158 times. Right. I would have been. So it's good that you do that.
No, I'm an incrementalist. So, like I've talked to other people before that have like, oh, we have to design the whole thing and then we'll build it perfectly. And I'm like, that doesn't ever work.
Yeah, I'm not like that either.
For like, I'm usually like, I have this idea, I'm going to get close to it. And then I'm like, and then I implement it. And then I observe, and then I'm like, oh, something's wrong here. Okay, we'll go back and we'll fix it. And I do that all the time, everything. I mean, I've done it on this show. I do it everything. I try this. I'm like, let me try this and see if this works. And like, I like this. I don't like that. And I'll just keep incrementing until I get closer to what I want.
Well, you kind of got to do that in radio too. You can't have you can't make a show. Okay, here's our show from start to finish, and that's why a lot of them fail, is because we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and it's all, and you can't do that. It's almost like you got to check and see if the spaghetti's ready. You've got to throw your bits up against the wall and see if they stick, and if they don't stick, you need to let them fall down to the garbage or fall down to the floor, and don't talk about them anymore and don't use them any. And I think that was something that we did on the podcast that was a detriment.
Just try different. You tried to do the same thing again.
We tried to do the same thing over and over again. That failed all the time. And
there's a difference between being consistent and providing consistency for your audience,
right?
And just doing, the same thing.
Just doing it for the sake of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I see that you have a freaking Baldwin title again. What the hell, JJ? I thought we were done with this crap.
No, we're not going to be done with that. Have you seen our numbers when we put a Baldwin title up? Nobody watches the show. Nobody watches the show. Oh, Veritas. Oh, nobody watches it. Oh, Alec Baldwin. We hate that guy. So yeah, if I could find Alec Baldwin or Veritas in the news, they're going to be on the title. Is that going to be the only thing we talk about? No way.
No, we may be tricking you with the titles though. So hi, welcome to the show,
guys, listeners, audience, potential listeners. If you're here the first time, it's your job to figure out if we're tricking you with the title. So show up, check the show out, watch and see. Hey, were they going to trick me? Was this whole episode about this awful thing I hate, or did they talk about other stuff? There's a pop quiz at the end. Okay, today's episode: Baldwin bullets. 3 Rust crew members sued for blast injuries, anxiety, and PTSD. Doesn't Alec Baldwin look a little bit like a supervillain? A really tired supervillain, like a really tired. Haggard supervillain. I don't know where my stories are. Okay, so not to, I literally am lost.
We know this.
I know. I'm looking for this. The one. I mean, we have so many things to talk about.
Well, there's a bunch of stories in our little.
I found it. Doop doop doo. Oh man, 3 Rust members. So surprising absolutely nobody. 3 Rust crew members are suing Alec Baldwin over blast injuries from the shooting on set. They're suing Alec Baldwin and I think the producers of Rust.
Okay.
It turns out that if you're in a room, like with some coworkers, and then one of your coworkers like pulls a gun out and then aims it at somebody and kills somebody with a gun discharge,
you might have some stress.
You might have some stress, some anxiety,
traumatic stress.
The concussion from the sound of the bullet, going off on its own, allegedly without any.
Okay, wait a minute. Well, this is the one that I want to know more information on. Is the blast? Okay,
Yeah.
because I don't know how those guns operate, and I don't think a lot of us do. How those particular guns operate, not the gun, but how the bullet, how the cartridge, the shell would operate. I don't know if the thing makes a normal combustion blast, if it's a real bullet fired in an enclosed area is going to create a lot of sound if you don't have ear protection. Right. And of course, the actors are not going to have obvious ear protection. But that's what I'm getting at. I don't know how loud these guns are in order for was the necessity that they wear ear protection.
You mean if it had been if it had been
a real gun and real bullets and everything, everybody there would have had ear protection on. Right. So that's what I'm getting at. I don't know if these bullets and this ammo requires ear protection to that degree. And if not, if so, why weren't they wearing ear protection? Because we have the technology.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Like if the crew members were like,
yeah, why didn't you have ear protection on? All you got to do is get these little bitty freaking things to put in your ears.
Right.
I mean, it's not like.
So the hypothetical scenario is that they were filming and it was a prop gun and it was supposed to maybe shoot blanks.
Right, but blanks. But that's what I'm getting at. I don't know what the blank sounds like when a blank is fired. All I know is what a blank sounds like from a movie or a TV show when it's fired.
Right.
And that sounds like a real gun because it's Foley.
I mean, I thought a blank would be honestly, I don't know why it would have
like a clap, like a pow.
Yeah, but I don't know why it wouldn't have gunshot. It doesn't need as much powder because it's not moving a projectile down the barrel.
Not moving a projectile. It's just creating a
poof. A little poofy poof.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that was a real gun. So it's a good point. Actually, you may have just provided some defense for some of these charges to Alec Baldwin. Hey, you were in a movie set with guns. You should have been wearing ear protection. Why weren't you doing that? And then the defense will be like, because your safety team sucks and didn't tell us to wear ear protection. Oh, no, you got us again. According to the suit, the crew members are in close range of Alec Baldwin. He pointed the revolver at cinematographer Hayla Hutchins, killing her and injuring director Joel Souza. Prosecutors in New Mexico are charging Baldwin in January with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter following an investigation into the shooting. He's pleaded not guilty. The crew members claim the lawsuit that they suffered blast injuries and from the deafening sound of the gun's discharge. The Price says he or her, I'm not sure. Price felt the physical force of the gunfire in the small space, the lawsuit reads. His ears began to ring. He felt as if everything was moving in slow motion. He saw Souza screaming and crawling away from the defendant Baldwin. Desperate and scared, crew members began to yank Plaintiff Price by the shirt out of the church.
All right. The incident, yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the incident. I'm sure the incident was extremely traumatic, and yes, all I was trying to do is get to the bottom of shouldn't they have had ear protection on in the first place?
They really shouldn't have.
Is what I I would have assumed that they would have been wearing ear protection.
So
in a movie.
Jeremy says the cartridge sound is the same regardless if it's a projectile or blank, which would
imply
that it'd be the same amount of powder in the
it just doesn't have the cartridge, or it doesn't have the projectile.
Yeah, it doesn't have the projectile.
Now, Foley would be used only if you have non-functional weapon or a non-weapon, or if it's just the sound was off. I mean, I would use Foley if if I recorded it, it was shitty sound.
That's the blast injuries in the lawsuit, but the Rust crew members are also suing over anxiety and PTSD from witnessing injuries to Joel Souza and also witnessing, the death of Helena Hutchins. So being there in the room while she, fought for life and then, succumbed to it. So anxiety, PTSD.
Yeah, I would want, if it was me, I would want if I had to go talk to somebody or had to go have medicine to deal with any problems like this, I would want that stuff paid for. But I'm also one of these people that eats injuries and stuff quite a lot, and I don't a lot of people are like, oh.
So there's, we talk quite a bit about Alec Baldwin and Helena Hutchins and whatnot. And, Alec Baldwin kind of being responsible. But there's another character in this story that has already pleaded guilty. And I didn't realize this. I was reading a different story yesterday and his name came up. And apparently he has already pled guilty to, this is Dave Halls. And he pled guilty to mishandling a firearm on the set. And from the context of the plea, it sounded like this was not a one-time thing for him, but something that he regularly did. And so rather than get into deeper waters, has already pled guilty to mishandling a firearm on the set of Rust. So one guy, and apparently this guy would do things like dismiss crew members or dismiss people before checking the weapon was returned and everything was safe. And he was basically skipping steps. Whatever this guy did on the set, he was skipping steps to keep people safe, was not announcing when there was a weapon on the floor of the set. Apparently when you're on a movie set, if a weapon is brought, everybody's supposed to be, hey, there's a weapon. Everybody know, anybody want to check it? You can check it now. Make sure it's clear. You're supposed to do all that safety stuff. You would skip all those steps, trying to save time and get shots in the can or something like that. So this is Dave Hall.
Save time and are sick of doing this shit over and over, this OSHA bullshit over and over again. Yeah. We're not doing this shit. They'll never fucking know if we don't ask and say that a weapon was on the set. They'll never know. So just quit that shit. We're not doing this crap around these superstars. Alec Baldwin don't want to know this crap, and he don't want to be bothered with this stuff. His time is money. So we need to get him in here and get him out so we don't have time for this crap. Nothing's going to happen, JJ. Nothing's going to happen. Whoops. Whoops.
And Dave Halls, who had pled guilty, had also worked with Helena Hutchins on prior films. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your morning Baldwin bullets. We'll see these more, I'm sure. Okay.
I hope
if that's all you're here for, you are welcome to leave. If we have plenty, but don't leave. Leave a like and a follow. Don't just leave. What do you want to talk about next? We got so much stuff, dude. Let me get rid of this one.
You go through your crap, and I've got a couple of stories.
All right. Let's see. How about
get rid of the Mayor Lightfoot story? I'm sick of looking at her goblin.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about Goblin Lightfoot.
Look, I know I am not the prettiest person in the world. I accept that. All right, but and you might not want to look at my face because I'm not very pretty, and I mean that's completely fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings. But Mayor Lori Lightfoot, God did not bless her with
whoa, no, definitely not.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna be I almost said I'm not gonna be ugly about it, but
that's low rent. That's not my bad. That's not great. I want to know if there's an excerpt of her concession speech, but here's what we want to say. Let me just do this. Let me put her picture up so that everybody has the rich privilege of examining this fine specimen of a human being. Oh my God!
You got to warn a man before you do that, JJ.
Chicago Democrat Lori Lightfoot on Tuesday became the Windy City's first incumbent mayor in 40 years to lose re-election as rising crime in the city steered voters away from the embattled leader. She received only 16.4% of the vote. Lori Lightfoot, who is 60, finished behind former head of Chicago Public Schools Paul Valles and Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson, and nobody cares. Valles took 35% of the vote. Johnson took 20% of the vote. She said, "I'll be rooting and praying for the next mayor," during her concession speech. But that's not all she said. She also said some stuff like, let me find the quote because this is hilarious. Where is it? Okay. Lightfoot alleged that critics of her 4-year tenure don't want to see a black woman in leadership. I'm a black woman. Let's not forget, certain folks, frankly, don't support us in leadership roles. Mayor Lightfoot is the first black woman and openly gay lesbian mayor of Chicago. Quote, "The same forces that don't want Harold Washington to succeed, they're still here," she told the New Yorker, referring to Democrat who was elected in 1983. "The last time we had an African-American mayor in power was 40 years ago. It's important for us to not repeat history." Lightfoot made these claims despite the fact that 8 of the 9 candidates in the mayoral race are people of color. So Mayor Lightfoot, his concession excuse was, I guess, white man's got us down.
The white man is a son of a bitch. He's always got you down.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, come on, lady.
She's right. It's the white man's fault, JJ.
It must be
the white guy's fault. It's your fault.
I'm not even sure that the ninth guy was even white.
Yeah,
that's how good us evil white guys are. That's how good the evil white guys are. We can be stacked up against 8 of 9 competitors, and we'll make sure that
that's how sly the white people are.
Wow,
that we're that devious.
All right, loser Lightfoot. You know what? Here's the most important thing. I don't know if my hand's in the way. Here's the most important thing that you should know about Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago. Chicago recorded 695 murders at the end of 2022 and 804 in 2021. That's practically 2 or 3 people getting murdered a day during her last 2 years in office. Every day, 2 people get murdered. How many people get murdered in your town? Usually if 1 or 2 people there's an incident, it's not every day in Houston, and Houston's a big city. There's a lot of incidents every day, but there's not a murder every day. There's definitely not 2 murders every single day. But 804 murders in 2021. Crazy. So, in the first 3 weeks of 2023, crime rates in the city skyrocketed 61%. I mean, what a record, Mayor Lightfoot. Good job. But that white man, he got you. All right. You got anything to say about that?
No, I just, no.
All right. Stay the fuck out of Chicago. Say that. I'm never going there. All right. Hey, let's talk some more about crime in prison. Did you see the story about El Salvador floating around yesterday?
Yes, I did. That was kind of a, I didn't read it, but I saw it.
Oh, you didn't see that? You didn't check it out? Oh, what happened? I'm looking for the, I know I had it in here. Oh my gosh. The story that keeps trying to get in the way is the Jimmy Carter worm fight.
I don't like that picture that came up with that story.
No, it is not good, but I think maybe it's important to talk. Well, it's deserving to talk about because I know, you know what, especially on our little server, I get the impression that we're always bagging on the left or whatever. Jimmy Carter was a terrible president, but he was a good guy. And we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Okay.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still a guy. He's still alive. I'm sorry. I was saying in the past he was a good president. Yeah. I mean, it was not a good president, but
right.
He was, but he contrasts to that. He's a good guy with a good heart. But before that, we're going to talk about this. from the Daily Mail and a lot of other places. You probably saw it on Twitter if you're paying attention to anything on Twitter. Men pressed up against one another like animals in a battery farm as they looked around El Salvador mega jail capable of holding 40,000 inmates in 32 cells. 40,000 inmates in 32 cells. Rafael Rowe said, is this the most hellish prison on earth? So there are, look at this photo. These are prisoners stacked up, belly button to asshole. These guys, and they don't have a choice. There's some, I mean, look at this. These are big cells.
Okay, first of all, this is a set up picture. Okay, they don't live like this all the time.
Okay.
They don't sit like this all the time. I'm not advocating for any of this, but I am going to point out bullshit when I see bullshit. And this is a bullshit picture. I mean, look at that first picture. Scroll up. That looks like, it's like you said, Billy to Billy, asshole to Billy button, blah, blah, blah. But then scroll down and look. They're not like,
you're not wrong.
Got them set up for a fucking photo op.
You see this guy right here?
Exactly.
It's cameraman.
It's a cameraman. They are doing for a photo op.
Now they are okay. So I'll grant you, this is what government of El Salvador they are doing. And there's a cameraman right here too, right here, right there. There's a few of them. They are doing a photo op.
Yeah, it's almost like a freaking National Geographic. We want all these prisoners in their underwear with all their tattoos and their tattoos on their heads and stuff like that, and all because we're going to display all you prisoners. We're going to display some oppression in the system, and we need your cooperation. And
okay, but maybe it's not bad though, because El Salvador's is like one of the most dangerous countries in Central America for sure. If the government can stage some photos like this, if it's staged, maybe it's legit. And all of these guys are just here for safety and so that these guys can get some photos or whatever. But if this is part of their campaign against crime, hey, dumbass criminals, if you keep running around killing people, then you're going to get packed into this meat sandwich with the rest of these guys. So, yes, it's probably
me too.
Yeah, maybe it's
I'm not getting at that. I'm not getting at these guys don't deserve this. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I'm pointing out that we're looking at these pictures and we're like, oh my goodness, and it's set up.
So there is video here somewhere, but I mean, there's a bunch of these photos. They definitely took these photos, whether they're staging them or not. So here on this video, I don't think I have sound, but let's turn the sound off. You'll see the guys like hauling ass and running. Here, look, the little guys are running to go get in a bus or whatever, hunched over, hands behind their backs, bound, getting, moving quick. So El Salvador has, let me minimize this now so I can go find the text. El Salvador's got a bad violent crime, gangs, things like that. They had outrageous rates of homicide. The gangs were basically running the town. You have MS-13, you have Barrio 18. I'm looking for any numbers. So El Salvador is like, look, I think there's I think maybe the president or director of prisons, I think his name is Bukalele. Don't know his name. He's like, look, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna change the script. We're not gonna let the criminals run things. We're gonna build a super prison, and we're just gonna pack them all in there, and we're gonna treat them like animals, because we've got to stop the violence. And it seems like, oh, that's not a humane way to treat people all jammed up like that. But when the alternative is the gangs are literally running the street and nobody's safe walking around, then what choice do you make? So having limited choices and limited resources, this administration has said, well, we're going to build super prisons. We're going to just pack them all in there. We're just going to scoop all of them up and put them in there. Are there innocent men in there? Probably. Are there killers in there? Almost certainly. But the net consequence to their society and their country is that El Salvador streets are safer than they were. So, which raises the interesting question: what is the acceptable limit of treating criminals like garbage? If it makes a safer society. What's the limit? I don't know where the limit is. Do you know where the limit is? It's a tough question. And
That is a tough question.
what's worse is when people are afraid to engage that question, what happens?
Where do you where the question needs to be where what our society is going, where our society is going to draw the line for not criminals, but what you did, the crime, the behavior. Because a criminal could be someone that stole some food from Walmart. And
Right.
the reason they stole that food was because their children were starving, and they stole it and they broke a law, and they're a criminal because they got caught. But a
Right.
criminal is also molesting a child.
Right.
Those are two completely different things. So there's a line, you know.
I think
that's
you have
broad, but you know what I'm saying? There's a line somewhere in there where society is going to have to say, okay, here's the line of this stuff is despicable, and now you have lost all respect from everyone, and we are going to treat you like garbage because you have no, no sense of any kind of society of anyone else. That's a problem with a lot of. Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think you have an inclination for justice to be delivered to an individual. One individual committed some crime, proportionate justice dispensed. But what El Salvador and many other places, maybe even Chicago, have the problem is that there are so many that the system is so overburdened that justice cannot be individually allocated.
You're exactly right.
And the only way that they can solve the problem is by brutishly, using the government sword to dispense, punishment in mass. So I don't know. I think it's a difficult question, and those that are afraid to face that, and when I say afraid, I mean political leaders that are afraid to put their political will on the block. Those that are afraid to engage that question are weak, and when you have weak leaders, crime will rise. It will rise because crime is just looking for the softest target.
And if you've got to be able to talk about it, but we also, you forget, and I don't know how it is in El Salvador. I'm sure it probably is a lot worse than it is here in America. But we have to remember that a lot of people just assume, oh, our prison, that's a state-run facility. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh, well, yeah, we have some.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot that
privatized
private institutions, and a lot of these that you think are state-run facilities, they're not state-run either. They're just made to appear that they're state-run. Okay, so it's privatized, and if my business is locking up prisoners, I sure don't want to rehabilitate their asses, do I, JJ? It's the same way with the pharmaceutical companies. If me and you had a pharmaceutical company, the very last thing we want to do is heal people, because if we heal people, we're out of a job.
Hey, listen, Woody, Mr. Harrelson, you can't do that on our show.
We're out of a job if we rehabilitate these gang members. We don't have a job anymore.
Right.
If that's train's coming. And I've got a minute before I got to talk, so I'm just gonna.
All right. Let's see.
You want to hear the train?
Oh, choo choo. I got pop-ups and stuff. Oh, my wife's computer. Let's see. I think you posted this story in.
I had a couple that I wanted to talk about.
Did you do this one from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., this tweet?
Yeah, I mean, that was just a minor story. I just wanted to kind of point out I wanted to point out to you, I think I posted it kind of in the wrong spot, but if you wanted to point it out, you can. It was a Robert F. Kennedy tweet that came out, and he was highlighting a story from that Moderna has finally paid the United States government for this part of a vaccine. There was a part in the vaccine that the government had invented or whatnot that the Moderna was using and whatnot, and they owed the government all this money, and Moderna was not trying to pay the government, and the government was like, it's money for this, and they finally gave them a bunch of money. But the thing in the tweet, what I wanted to show was that what Robert F. Kennedy says there that a lot of people probably don't know. The tweet says, fact checkers denounced me for promoting vaccine information when I pointed out Fauci's agency owned Moderna patent, plus stood to make $500 million from the jab Fauci developed in his lab, exempted from liable safety testing and liability, and then forced on the public with lies.
Wow. So Fauci owned the patent, or his company owned the patent that Moderna had to use to do this vaccine. I think we all knew that everybody was lying. Everybody was lying, or they were misinformed and fighting for their team. So if your team was in power, then it was get the vaccine, get the jab, get the save everybody's life, whatever. And turns out everybody that, and I'm not anti-vaccine. For some people, maybe it makes sense. Probably should talk to your doctor. I think there is some anecdotal evidence that maybe it's. I'm not asserting anything, but maybe, just maybe, it's better for vaccines to go through a rigorous trial before being publicly put into practice.
Wow, maybe we should have a law like that, JJ.
Much less being mandated by every state in the union.
Destroying the world, and then people were dying, and we had to do something immediate, JJ. And we don't have time for stuff like that. We have to do something immediate. I don't want to hear that bullshit, because then you can go to diedsuddenly.com, I think is what it is, or it might be on Twitter. Died suddenly, and all they do is post all of these articles where these people die suddenly. Yeah. There was another little actor kid that just died suddenly.
Yeah.
It was not Hayden Panettiere, but it was a boy.
Her brother.
Yeah. Was it her brother?
Yeah, it's her brother.
I thought, oh, that's a weird last name. He's got to be related.
Yeah.
He just died suddenly from a heart thing.
And there was I don't even grab these stories when I see them, but I see them all the time.
I read them. I see them all the time.
And they're really tragic. There was I think it was a female athlete, high schooler, maybe around high school age, maybe 18 or so. I think she played some sport, and she collapsed and died of a heart attack in her father's arms. I mean,
the history will go down to say that this pandemic killed a lot of people, and the vaccine was rushed, and it killed a lot of people too. History will go down saying that just like we look at the Spanish flu from the 1920s, 1918 or whatnot, just like we look at all this, history is going to say this coronavirus came through in the early 2000s, 2020. It killed a lot of people. They rushed the vaccine, and the vaccine ended up killing a lot of people as well.
It's going to be hard because one, everybody that made the vaccine, all of that, they got money and they got power, and they're going to try to obscure.
They've already got their money.
Yeah,
so they're already, they don't care.
It's going to be it's going to be difficult to affirmatively assert anything caused this or that, and they're going to keep the water muddy. They're going to keep the water muddy.
You think they gave their loved ones the vaccine? It's the same as when you watch these Google executives be interviewed, or these Facebook executives be interviewed, and they always ask these executives, or those exiting executives or whatnot, do you let your kids use Facebook? And their answer is always a resounding, it's the same. Absolutely not. It's not like no, we don't let them use. It's always absolutely not. We don't let them use Facebook. Are you crazy? It's like, what do you know that we don't?
Let's stay on the subject. And by the way, I'm going to continue to not say whether vaccines work or don't, and talk to your doctor. That's the official.
I'll say the same thing, but
that's the stance of your show.
But let me just point this out. When you say talk to your doctor, your fucking doctor said the same goddamn thing. The doctors were the ones that were out there telling you that you better get the vaccine. All right. So do I
Yeah.
really need to talk to the doctor? Because
Well,
he's got, I know who his pocket is, because when I sit in the doctor's office for my 3:30 appointment, when it's 3:45 and I'm still sitting there at 3:45 for my 3:30 appointment, I know
yeah.
why I'm late, because I see the little fucking bimbo with the suitcase, the pharmaceutical rep bitch, go in and
Oh,
out and take up the doctor's fucking time when I've had a scheduled appointment with that doctor for
right.
months.
Yep. Yeah. That you're not
I
wrong
know
about
who the
that. So
doctor
in
belongs
fact, I was
to.
in the doctor last week getting annual physical checkup, right? And
His finger up
while
your butt.
no, they didn't do that.
I was just wondering.
Don't be so disappointed either. But while I was sitting in the lobby waiting to go in, one of these people walked in. Oh, I'm so and so representing so and such and such and such. And luckily they were so busy that the receptionist was like, "We don't need anything. We're good. Bye." And I was like, "Yeah, get out of here." But
It
I mean,
irritates me.
medical sales is a big deal. It's a big deal. Okay, and we're not
I had to fuss at a medical lady one time because she was. I had to cancel an appointment at the last minute because of an emergency, and she was going to charge me. And I was like, "The fuck I am. The fuck you are going to charge me."
You ain't getting that money.
I'm going to start charging you when you're late for the appointment that I've had in your books, and I'm
Yeah.
still sitting here at 3:31. I'm going to charge you $25 a minute. How about that?
Oh, Manny said yesterday that one of the kids from the Walking Dead TV show died suddenly. He
I
was
think
his
that
age.
was the was
Didn't know that.
that kid that we just said.
I think that's who you're talking about, but I didn't know that person was on the Walking Dead. Jordan says to uh, anyone who forced the jab should be prosecuted.
Well,
Yeah,
they will not.
they won't be. They won't be.
They're not gonna.
I saw yesterday that despite the fact that the government has uh, reversed the mandate, no longer makes it a mandate in the Defense Department, the Defense Department will still prosecute or will still punish members of the military who refused to get the vaccine. So despite the fact that the policy has been reversed, they will still punish members of the military that refused to cooperate in that regard.
So, and you, as a former member of the military, I want to ask you your opinion on this. Do you think that alone, because the numbers for recruitment couldn't have been glorious to start from 2000 to 2019, I'm sure the numbers for recruitment have gone. Let me say not 2000. Let me say 2002 to
I would say 2005.
2019.
I would say like after 2005, I think maybe
Numbers went down.
Yeah. I think
So
immediately after
what do you
2001.
think about this? Do you think this act that they screwed over their own people that were still dedicated to them because of this, because of their personal choice? Do you think this will affect people that were, because there's different types of people that go into the military at 18, different mindsets. We know
Right.
this. It's profiling. It is profiling. Okay, there is. So there's going to be that one particular mindset that
I think you're going to say race
minded.
profiling, but it's not. It's poverty profiling.
It's poverty. You're exactly right. It's poverty profiling. It's not race profiling. It's poverty profiling. All right. Yeah. So the poverty, when you get down, those type of people normally think the same way when it comes to political, stuff. And do you think you've infringed on their rights? The army has now, and the military has now infringed on their rights to do things, and they say that, and they see that the military did this shit to other people. Do you think that disparages them from wanting to even sign up when they wanted to sign up in the first place?
I don't think that it's
youth plays. I think age plays a factor.
I think this is a massive wrong committed by the government against the military at the command of the military staff, and I think it will have little to no impact whatsoever.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because when it comes down to it, for people that are being recruited, they're being recruited at a high school, maybe at a college, but mostly it's right at a high school. And so many people that join the military join because they don't have many lucrative
Any other
opportunities, and it is a way to create an opportunity. It's a way to have employment, have a paycheck, have food in your belly, stop being a resource drain on your own family, right? So people can,
the one thing that kind of excited me when I was when I had signed up was the one thing that got me was, it's like you said, you have a paycheck, okay? You have a steady paycheck, a pretty nice paycheck that was coming in. And the thing that got me was, you're not going to have to get to spend that paycheck for a while, boy. You're going to be busy doing shit. So you're
it's
going to
gonna
get
go
a
in the bank.
paycheck and it's just going to go in the bank and sit there. And so
Yeah.
when you get done after a while, you're going to have a buttload of money that you're going to have. And that's why when some of these guys get out and they buy brand new, they spend, they do stupid stuff with it.
And then it evaporates. You get loose, you get
Yeah.
either you stay in the
Happens real quick.
military and you drink your paycheck away, which happens a lot, or maybe you save it and you get out and then it evaporates because you never learned all the other lessons you need in your life, like how to manage money, how to budget, things like that. Okay, well that's a little bit okay. So, but we're not done yet because we got a celebrity that has something to say about COVID-19. If you guys recall, Jon Stewart went on, I think it was on like what's the Late Show? Stephen Colbert. He went on Stephen Colbert a year or two ago and floated the theory of the COVID lab leak, the COVID lab leak theory. He floated that in the time when it was very, very conspiracy theory to suggest that the Wuhan flu emerged from a lab. Obviously, everybody knows it came from eating bats from a wet market. What? So Jon Stewart recalls the outrage after he backed the COVID-19 lab leak theory. F you, I'm done. So he said this. He got excoriated by mainstream media
by his own
yes
people. That needs to be pointed out. This was the Jon Stewart Daily Show crowd
demographic. His audience
was his audience.
Yes,
that did this to him.
Yes. Yeah, and now, I mean, like now we've come. What? We're now in the third year. We're like in the third year of the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and and suddenly, when it's politically and socially allowed, we can now allow our brain cells to rub together and figure out that maybe it was the
maybe this
virus lab in Wuhan.
Maybe this shit was orchestrated and painted in front of us like we were a bunch of fucking morons, which we were, and we watched it and we sucked it up like a bunch of idiots. And those of us that were like, this is a TV show. Are we watching a real life TV show? You called us morons. So,
let's see if he has something to say here. First of all, Stewart joked. First of all, I wasn't waiting on the Department of Energy to weigh in on this. It was the Department of Energy that finally said, "Well, it looks like it was maybe the lab leak." And then suddenly it was okay to say that. And then suddenly it was like, "Oh, well you're allowed to say the FBI actually thinks it's the lab leak. They've thought that for a while." What?
Suddenly it's okay to, but on the same hand, you got to think of it in the same aspect. Suddenly it's okay to say that the CIA killed John F. Kennedy. Has enough time passed that nothing's going to happen?
No, you can't say that.
Wuhan?
No, you can't say that until, until
you can't say that. Nothing's going to happen with this coronavirus Wuhan leak. Nothing is going to happen with this, JJ.
No, we're gonna still keep sending money to EcoHealth Alliance and gonna still keep developing.
Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change.
Gain of function research. Guys, we have to stop them.
Yeah,
and by we stop them, I mean you need to support politicians that'll do things like, oh, let's disband the Department of Health and Human Services. Let's just turn it off. That's the only way to stop this stuff, because otherwise you have bureaucrats that are like, I'm going to approve this funding. I have a discretionary budget. I'm going to approve this funding to create a weaponized super virus, just in case people get sick. You guys are nuts. Jon Stewart said, the larger problem with all of this is the inability to discuss things that are within the realm of possibility without falling into absolutes and litmus testing each other for our political allegiances as it arose from that.
Exactly.
That's true. That's the problem.
You're exactly right.
I've gotten a strike on this channel for one of us saying something, related to COVID.
Who?
It was one of us. It was the letter was indiscriminate. I'm not sure who it was. That's the thing. We are here every single day to talk about the news, and sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong, but at least we can hey, did you know this? I didn't know this. I found this out yesterday. We should just be allowed to talk about stuff. We should be allowed to consider, hey, what's right? What's real? What's fake? Are we being lied to on a daily basis? You are being lied to on a daily basis. Is the reason because evil is running the world? No, the reason is because some asshole's trying to sell ads or medicine or some shit, and then they got a reason to get you to click on this thing, and emotional outrage will always work.
That's it. I was looking through Twitter the other day. I was sitting on the couch and I was just looking through Twitter, and there was this video of some kid assaulting a teacher or something, and everybody was like, how come people don't step in? These youth today just film and they won't stop it, and they do this.
Oh, did you see the St. Louis shooting?
Yeah, that was terrible.
Oh,
and that same thing. And then people were like from other countries. There was a guy from Germany that was like, fucking us Germans will step in and kick that guy. Germans don't do that crap. And the other countries were like, we would have stepped in. There would have already been somebody that would have stepped in and stopped that kid and blah, blah, blah. And,
no, you wouldn't.
I was sitting there looking at this stuff. It was playing on my emotions.
Yeah.
And it was just outraging me to the point that I was like, oh, I want to, yes, that's right. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't. Why do it's designed
How are you gonna
do this? It's designed to enrage me and get me to respond. And that's what I've tried to tell kids and stuff in the past. My kids, don't respond when you're angry. That's the worst way. This is a dad lesson for you young people out there. When you get mad, try to bite your tongue. Please. When you respond out of anger, you don't make any sense. You've got to freaking take your time and calm your brain down.
Right. I mean, when you react, first of all, when you're emotionally charged and upset about something, it can be very difficult to realize that you're emotionally charged. It can be very difficult to realize that you're way upset about something. It's important to identify that. If you've ever been in a fight with your wife, you know what I mean? Like you can get into a fight and you can get wound up and you're like back and forth suddenly. And then you have to say, maybe I'm right about the issue, but I'm out of control at the moment. I need to.
I've lost my cool before. I know I have. And I'm bad about
all of these things. They wind you up and they gaslight you.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Yep.
All right, I got another. Are you struggling for a story here? Because I got one.
I'm closing tabs. Oh, okay. Pull up whichever you want.
I just come across this one this morning. I was watching the news this morning while I was getting my stuff ready here. I turned it on one of the news and I sat here and I just listened to it while I'm doing just to hear anything. And I heard the story and I just did a little blurb on it. And I was like, I got to go look this up. Because I was a coach. I was a little league coach for several years in baseball for my son, Alex. And this happened in Virginia. High school basketball coach jumps into the stands to fight with a stepdad during the game. Can you see this?
Wait. We have to preface this. We have to stop. Hold on. Before you play that video.
Yeah.
This is
he doesn't. He doesn't throw. They don't fight.
He doesn't?
No,
okay. Because
he just jumps in the stands and yells at him.
YouTube.
What about you? YouTube sucks. YouTube, you kiss my ass.
Stop.
All right.
We're reading the news here.
A Virginia high school, yes, YouTube moderators. If you haven't figured out we're reading the news yet, I don't know. A Virginia high school girls basketball coach is under investigation after an altercation with a spectator during a game on Thursday. This coach was captured on video jumping over the team's bench and confronting a male spectator during the final seconds. Let's see.
What's the context?
Hang on, you
You
see
know?
him? See him down there?
Yeah. There's no sound, but that's okay, right?
Yeah, I took the sound away because it
Maybe
was so hard.
bigonate the picture. Yeah. All right, so it's the guy in the purple shirt with the gray hair right there.
That's the coach, I'm
Yeah.
guessing, this guy right here.
People are pulling back
They're
down
trying to
onto the
calm him
floor.
down. This is the guy right here that was standing up, saying shit, and they're like,
And you got some other guys pulling that guy out.
Yeah, and look at the
dragging him
score. It's
out.
51-54. It's a tight game. It's in tournament season. It's March the 1st today, folks. So we're in tournament season. And let me tell you something about you. You may be one of these people. And if so, you need to really look in the mirror. Okay. There are some crazy ass sports fans out there, and you people are fucking crazy. Okay. Like nuts crazy. It's a fucking game. Okay. It's a game. Okay. It's a fucking game. I'm going to say it again. It's a game. Okay. Jesus Christ. I don't know how many times that I wanted to be this coach to mouthy ass parents sitting in that baseball stand. We had 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids out there, and they were treating this shit like it was the fucking World Goddamn Series. Okay. I had to scream at the parents one night because this kid started some shit with one of my kids, and the refs didn't do anything about it after I had already pointed it out innings earlier and pointed it out to the other coaches. I walked over. I'm like, hey, this crap's happening. Please keep your eye out for it. Still happened. They didn't do anything. So finally, at the end of the game, I lose my cool. I call it out, whatnot, and I ended up saying, he's out here calling my kid a fat ass on the bases, blah blah blah. And the parents are like, hey, he's cussing. And I looked at that bitch and I was like, it's because you're little fucking kids mouthing it out here on the base, you know. I hated being a coach. I loved being a coach to the kids, and those boys now are like 14 and 15, and when I see them in Walmart and stuff, they're like young men. They don't even look the same. And there's several of those boys that still love me and or like call me Coach Andy. And you know, the parents have told Ashley, oh, they loved Coach Andy and they wouldn't play unless they were playing under Coach Andy and blah blah blah. And you know, and I hated some of the other. That's why it's hard to find referees and it's hard to find people, actual good coaches and stuff out there, is because parents make it to the point that you don't. It's pointless because they think their kid is going to be the next fucking Wayne Gretzky and they have to start now. So I have spent $500 on batting lessons and I have gotten him some weight training and we go through gymnastics every Monday through Friday. You know, it's like, I feel sorry for some of these kids. You know, my cousin's kid's one of these baseball kids, and this kid, he's like, he lives, eats, breathes, shits baseball. He doesn't have another hobby.
It's just that.
His life is baseball. And I feel sorry for those people.
So Jeremy says, as a coach, parents were usually the biggest problem.
Absolutely.
He was a gymnastics coach.
Yes,
for years.
He is exactly right.
So you think probably that dad in the stands was running his mouth and telling the coach how to do his job and was being a big distraction.
From what was said in the article was that is the article
I looked through it. I didn't see that. I didn't see a reasoning or I didn't see the inciting.
From what I could tell from I don't remember if this was the thing I heard on the news this morning, but apparently it was a stepfather. And a stepfather of one of the girls. And I guess he was, from what I know, he was probably sitting back there 2 rows back behind that coach, giving him shit the whole time.
Yeah.
Probably. You need to do this. You need to be doing this. You need to be doing that. And you can only poke a dog with a stick so many times before that dog is going to bite your ass.
All right. We got 2 more stories to get through and we'll be done this morning. We've got 5 minutes. And one of them is just awful. It's just awful. But before we get to that, I know that you have health issues related to the way you process sugars. Yes. And you're diabetic, right?
Yeah.
And my wife has got a similar thing. And for some people, the keto diet, the ketogenic diet which reduces carbs and sugars and replaces it with fats and proteins, has been really useful for stabilizing diabetes and other health issues and helping people kind of get control of their weight and whatnot. Now, the ketogenic diet has been pretty popular for a couple of years now, and to subsidize to appeal to that market, food producers have started using some 0-calorie sweeteners to replace sugars so that foods can still kind of taste sweet without necessarily having sugar in it, which is, sugar is also a poison. So there is a 0-calorie sweetener popular in ketogenic diet foods and drinks. And a new study says, hey, that sweetener you guys are using might be related to strokes and heart attacks.
I'd always heard that one of those sweeteners was only like 1 or 2 molecules off from rat poison. Like on a molecular level, it was sweet and low, or
wow.
One of them that was.
Oh my God! Look that up.
The molecular level was.
Find out which one it is.
See if that's bullshit. What I've always thought was bullshit.
The artificial sweetener called erythritol is often found in diet foods such as Truvia, which is a sugar substitute, a sugar replacement, because the erythritol does not affect blood glucose levels and doesn't have any calories. In a new study published in the journal Nature Medicine on Friday, found that higher levels of erythritol are correlated with a higher chance of heart attack, stroke, or death in 3 years when analyzing blood samples from 3 different populations. Let me just say that this word correlated is not, it does not mean causal. It could mean that people that are consuming this are doing something else that also causes a heart attack or a stroke. So you could interpret this as happens to be or coincidentally, because you can't draw a causal relationship. It could, anyway, what I'm saying is don't read too far into it, but that is not a good correlation to have. Researchers found the correlation between these increased erythritol levels and major adverse cardiac events when analyzing chemicals and compounds in 1,157 blood samples of those who were at risk for heart disease that were collected between 2004 and 2011. So their sample group, their population sample group, was people that were at risk for heart disease. So probably a lot of those people were already diabetic or were already had some heart condition, his family medical heart condition. So their sample group was a group that was very likely to have these events in the first place.
Well, so is everybody, JJ. God damn it.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's some bullshit. If you ask me, that sounds like where did this come from? The people that make the damn thing?
Yeah.
It's like the vaccine. Oh, vaccine, that shit doesn't cause autism. Yeah. That doesn't do anything. Yeah. We had our own company do that. Yeah.
Now I'm not sure who funded the research. And I mean, let's be extra conspiratorial this morning. Truvia probably would not fund an article like this, but a company that sells a product as an alternative to Truvia.
Aspartame was the carcinogen in rats, was what I was.
Oh, is it really? Aspartame. There's a bunch of drinks that drinks and sugar-free chewing gum that has that stuff in it, and it always made my stomach hurt, and so I don't no way.
No, yeah.
All right. Guys, this is it. This is the final story, and if you haven't already, well, make sure you're watching the screen now. We're going to talk about President Jimmy Carter, using his political capital and his humanitarian powers to combat a terrible, terrible disease and burden in Africa. So in his final days, Jimmy Carter was on the cusp of a humanitarian goal, eradicating a parasitic worm. This is a parasitic worm that does not occur in the United States of America. He encountered
God.
No fucking kidding. Once we get through this story, you're gonna be like, praise Jesus, I'm glad I'm American.
If you want to hold your hand up like this and just peek open, you might want to do that.
Just a few hours before he went under radiation treatment for cancer, He spoke of his hope in the time he had left to purge the world of a parasitic worm disease. That was in 2015. So President Carter went to Africa doing humanitarian work, and then he encountered this thing called the guinea worm. The guinea worm, and it gets in your body, and it gets in your body because of like stagnant water pooling. It gets these eggs in it, and then people are walking through and drinking it, and then these worms from the stagnant water get in your body, and then you fucking have these horrible things in you, and the only way to get it out. This is, I'm sorry, guys.
No, wait.
I'm sorry. The only way to get it out is with a stick, and for days and weeks at a time, you wind the stick and you get it out a little bit. Here it is. Here it is. Oh my God. This is the only way to get this thing out. So Jimmy Carter, I'm not going to show that picture anymore. Jimmy Carter encountered a woman, and it was sorry. Nah. It's awful. So
God mighty.
As of now, only about 13 people a year have this. It used to be a plague across Africa. It was everywhere. Everybody had it. But Jimmy Carter and his foundation backed programs that would help people sanitize their water, filter their water, teach them not to walk in this nasty shit, and basically reduce the occurrences of people getting this thing, and reduce the chances of them getting it by making sure they're consuming clean drinking water and so forth. And clean drinking water and clean water is a big, big problem in a lot of parts of the world.
It is.
You guys don't know how lucky you are to have drinking water that's only contaminated by vinyl chloride.
We have our fucking society over here is so vain, JJ. We've got motherfuckers that won't even drink the water over here unless it's flavored or has something in it.
Yeah. So, I know, especially kind of people that kind of hang out around us, they tend to be, I would say, more partisan
in the room.
The smartest people, the best. They're the most capable of hitting the like button or in the follow button on that channel. Generally, capable of sharing the show on their social media thing.
That's enough. Keep going.
All right. So we can attract, and we have surrounded ourselves not intentionally, but some people can be really, really partisan and be kind of on their team. And definitely I call out a lot of people on the other team, but I try to call out people on our team too. And President Carter is a Democrat. And he was the president in a time like the country went through crazy inflation, high gas prices, and he's not considered a great president. But he used what powers he had after the presidency to build people's homes, to cure people of this disease, to do a lot of good. And is that something that you necessarily see other former presidents doing on either side of the aisle?
Nope.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Think so.
Some bring shitty fucking McDonald's food to people, but fucking McDonald's, they could have brought something more expensive like Chick-fil-A or something else. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking, who has the capacity to produce a bunch of food in a short time? So
Chick-fil-A. I don't
you
care.
think so?
Should have been.
Chick-fil-A has a great drive-through thing. Like they have got they mastered drive-through. Like you can order that shit before you get there and drive through and be like, "Hey, I'm here to pick up my stuff." And
Chick-fil-A, at our Chick-fil-A, you can order your telepathy in the drive-through. You can just
oh yeah,
that's or X that shit, and they just hand you a chicken sandwich with pickles.
All right.
Are we done?
Okay. We're done. We're done. Right. Thanks for watching this show, everybody.
Before we get to our dad joke of the day, I just want to. This is where I give JJ.
Yeah, you threw me in.
So before we get to the dad joke of the day, we're doing dad jokes. If you want to send in your dad joke, you can send them into our Discord server. Just tag one of us so that we can save them. Or you can find us on Twitter, and you can send your dad joke to us on Twitter. So before we get to JJ's dad joke, I just want to say that I wanted to point out that I have recently been fascinated with the extraordinary health benefits of eating dried grapes. You know,
Oh.
we were talking about that earlier, with your health and keto diet and stuff earlier. But you know, the extraordinary health benefits of eating dried grapes. So for me right now, it's all about raising awareness.
Oh, raising awareness. It's better than dating. It's better than dating. Deacon, you know, sometimes we talk about stuff that happened a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we try to stay on stuff that's current, you know, like you know, the Alec Baldwin prosecution. But you know, we also end up talking about a lot of things that happened a long time ago, even hundreds or thousands of years ago, like
Yeah. Right.
Egypt, you know,
Mhm.
pyramids, stuff like
Mhm.
that. But the worst thing about ancient history,
Yeah.
class, when you were taking it in school, the absolute worst thing about ancient history class is that the teachers tend to babble on. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll be back tomorrow, 6:30, rumble.com/JJW. Like and follow. Bye.